All of the storage that we've been working with so far, when we've been making our virtual disk, the storage itself has been the storage on the Hyper-V host. Well, let's think about this for a second, the way that it used to be and what we're trying to do with virtualization. In many cases, you would invest heavily into a SAN, a storage area network. And this SAN gave you storage to multiple physical machines. Now, those physical machines were connected to the SAN through a fiber channel HBA or host bus adapter. This is basically the network that connected the servers to the storage devices. And you would have a fiber channel switch in there, like a Brocade switch, and get everything wired up and connected. And now you could share this storage device, this SAN, between multiple physical servers, giving LUNs or logical units off to each physical machine. Now, normally what would happen is the physical machine would have its OS installed on a set of local drives and then would do all the storage to the SAN. Well, we want to have that same concept today, only we want to virtualize it and give our VMs access to shared storage like a SAN. And we do it pretty much the same way. Your Hyper-V host will have the physical connections of the fiber channel and the HBAs to the SAN. Then when you go into the Hyper-V manager, what we want to do is create a virtualized SAN so that these VMs can then use it. Well, I'm going to show you how to make a virtual SAN, but something to keep in mind is, connecting this up in your environment is going to be different depending upon your SAN's the manufacturer of your SAN. And so you want to make sure you check with their specific information. Now, irregardless of the 7410 exam, we'll focus not so much on those manufacturer criteria, of course, but on what we're taking a look at here in the creation of fiber channel for our VMs to access that shared storage. So here's how you'll do it. You can see over here, there's a virtual SAN manager. And I'm going to select it, and I'm going to create a new fiber channel for the SAN. Now, a couple things to point out, that when this is set up, a Hyper-V host could be connected to multiple physical SANs. You might have a development SAN, you might have a production SAN. Well, when you connect these, they're going to get different worldwide names. And that's what you see down here as the worldwide names and the ranges that we can use for those worldwide names when they make their network connections. In our case, what we're going to do is we're just going to create a fiber channel SAN, and we'll change his name here so that it's easy to identify. And we'll call this production SAN and say apply. Now, there aren't any physical ports that I have connected to a real SAN. That's why I'm getting this message about that there's no actual ports for it. I'll say OK, and now that virtualized SAN has been created, if I want to go into a virtual machine that I want to have access to it, I can go to Settings. I can add a fiber channel adapter and then specify the SAN that I want that virtual machine to be able to connect to. If I need to, I can edit the addresses of the worldwide naming convention that's being used from the connections that have been created with the SAN. And at this point, I can say apply and OK, and my virtual machine will now have access to the volumes on that physical SAN. This is more common today as your virtualization environment grows, that you're going to want to have access to those large storage devices that you have on your network. So again, make sure you check with the manufacturer instructions for any details in configuring the physical portion of the SAN for your Hyper-V host. And then you can go in and create the virtual SAN with the virtual SAN manager, create the virtual SAN and give it to your VMs. One last stop for our storage is quality of service.